Our world is at a tipping point. Global inequality is getting worse. Nothing short of a radical step change is required.
We need everybody to build new, deep relationships that we know will ultimately lay the groundwork over the next 10, 20 years to change the world.
All of us, the reason why we are activists is because it comes from the idea to act. Whether we like it or not, we are leaders.
Indigenous-led practice is holistic, and that's how we see the world.
We are committed to working for the betterment of human flourishing. So commitment to equity, a commitment to impact.
The global pandemic revealed existing inequities and made them more pronounced. And so the call for equity across the world has amplified even more. The Atlantic Fellows community is made up of 7 programs, diverse in location and focus, but united in their pursuit for equity.
The story behind the values of Atlantic start with Chuck Feeney, the founder. Chuck made his fortune principally in the duty-free business, but from that fortune invested in many other businesses globally. In 1982, he was starting to think about what to do with his wealth.
In the world we live in today, there is such a need to reach out and help people.
Become engaged, give it your all, use your resources sooner rather than later to make a difference.
Each time you can address their problem, you help them to move forward and to feel that life can change and I can change it.
Giving while living is something that Chuck Feeney has embraced and lived. The philanthropy of the foundation was really driven by recognizing dynamic individuals who are making a difference. Those were the roots for an Atlantic Fellows program. Over Atlantic's 37-year existence, Atlantic has made over $8 billion in grants. We wanted to end in the most impactful way possible. The final collection of grants represented by the Atlantic Fellows totals $700 million. It's our largest investment to date to affect change in a lasting and meaningful way.
Atlantic Fellows for Racial Equity is located in the United States of America as well as South Africa. These 2 countries have inspired generations of activists, of political leaders and thinkers.
The systemic problem with education is that it's not centered in racial equity. It's not centered in racial justice.
We're here to put pressure on City Council and the mayor to say it's time to get to work. It's time to put forth a budget that is centered in racial justice. They have an opportunity to make sure those dollars that were meant for these children get to these children, get to these communities.
Liberation to me means that every day a child wakes up, they will have food to eat that's healthy. They will have a roof over their head. They will smile when they wake up, when they go to school, and when they come home. Our collective fight is that we must see beyond ourselves, acknowledge the privilege that we all have, and utilize that to uplift Black and brown children, Black and brown communities, so that they will be able to taste liberation.
At the Atlantic Fellows for Racial Equity, I don't think our programming has ever stayed still. As the world continues to move, our fellows continue to grow and evolve. We're learning from the work and evolving, but so's the world.
When you look at traditional instruments, they've lost their value. The young people, there's not so much that they know about their own history. I am using traditional bow instruments as a symbol of purification against colonialism, against white supremacy, against anti-Black racism. Liberation, for me, starts with self, to never bow on someone else.
One of the incredible surprises that I've experienced as a result of working at Atlantic Fellows for Racial Equity has been seeing the unexpected ways in which the work we do focused on South Africa, the United States, and the experiences with anti-Black racism and white supremacy there, what the cascading implications and effects have been around the world. So what I hope moving forward is to continue to sort of shift from an insular view of trying to only focus on these two cases, but since they both function as the spear's edge, as it were, the spear's end of anti-Black racism and white supremacy, I believe they have so much to offer to the wider world.
For the Atlantic Fellows for Social Equity program, we focus on Indigenous communities in Australia and New Zealand. Our mission is an Indigenous-led social change program.
I'm a deaf Aboriginal woman. I travel around Australia working with deaf and hard of hearing Aboriginal people who are often marginalised by the system and how that impacts on their lives. As you can see, I look white. People have these assumptions that this is not my community. And I say, excuse me, this is my culture, this is my community. I can't give it up. In Australia, we have the highest number of Aboriginal people or Indigenous people with a hearing loss in the world. So always have that very open mindset. What are some things that are important to be able to connect and communicate with Aboriginal people, especially those that are deaf and hard of hearing? The fellowship gave me the opportunity to connect deaf Aboriginal women. The government, they fail to provide, they fail to protect. And so for us, as deaf Aboriginal people, we have no voice. And if I can give just a little bit of my knowledge to empower people to be the best that they can be, why wouldn't I?
Our job really is to amplify the voices of Indigenous communities. As our fellows go into the global network, they will make connections with other Indigenous fellows and non-Indigenous fellows. The world needs us, and it needs our knowledge. We need multiple ways of bringing about change.
The system's only going to change from people who buck up against it.
The Atlantic Fellows for Equity and Brain Health bring together fellows from around the world and from all disciplines, really every discipline you could imagine, looking for people who could help us with our mission, which is to protect the world's aging populations from threats to brain health.
Most studies about Alzheimer's disease and dementia have been done in developed countries. One of the benefits of the Atlantic Fellowship for Equity in Brain Health is that we're now able to add to the conversation and our voices are being heard.
How you been?
Well,
The memory never so good.
no.
What about Mrs. McDonald?
Well,
Remember what she have
she
again?
have a multiple amount of problems.
So do you think that she would benefit if the clinic was able to come to her?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Greatly.
Yeah.
The solutions come from the vision of our fellows who know how to solve the challenges in that region.
My research project is a feasibility study on a home-based primary care program to socially isolated older adults who are cognitively impaired to see if we can decrease their rates of acute hospitalization, if we can improve their quality of life, and if there is some improvement, how can we do this on a larger scale?
This is a model of global health where people can lean on each other and listen to solutions that work in different contexts to solve the challenges within their country, their region, their community.
Being an Atlantic Fellow, it gives you a sense of purpose and a sense of community and a feeling of belonging on a world stage.
Atlantic Fellows for Health Equity, based at the George Washington University, is aimed at developing leaders in health equity both in the U.S. And from all over the world. The program for health equity in Southeast Asia grew out of our work in Vietnam, but expanded to health equity in Southeast Asia. In South Africa, we have initiated a health equity fellowship program based at Tucano.
The vision of the program is a more equitable South African society where all people enjoy equal health status. Our mission is to build a community of people who share commitment to health equity, who want to advocate and learn and collaborate to address the social, economic, and other drivers of health inequities.
We need resources that helps the community to move forward. If people do not have land, then they develop other health issues.
Let us come together on this issue and landless.
Ngathi niyazi ukuthi kuleli stand ngayekasi.
Sure, that's the way of saying.
No, siyongena la sothatha umhlaba. Occupation is a means to an end, to put the state under pressure. You occupy, but the struggle continues because you still want the place to be formally developed.
We are coming here to reclaim our land, to reclaim our spirit, to reclaim our identity.
Land is the primary source of life. It gives us food, it gives us water, it gives us a possibility as a human being to live a life with dignity and respect.
When I think about being an Atlantic Fellow, I think about being a change agent. I developed a pipeline program to try and encourage underrepresented African American women and other groups to pursue careers in healthcare.
If we're going to get to a place where we're able to meaningfully address these really persistent inequities in health, we need to try new strategies. Our fellows who have those stories, who have already realized success and are able to share that, are able to inspire their others who are just starting on that journey.
I grew up in North Memphis, single parent home, did not know my father, and I ultimately went to Harvard University. So never put a limit to what you can do. At my office, I have an open door policy where if a student has an interest in any field of healthcare, they can come and shadow me. You can keep this jacket too. Thank you. It'll be official. Kayla, did you enjoy it today?
I did enjoy it. You really have me really thinking about going into the dentistry field.
You have a lot of time to decide, what you want to do, but definitely follow your heart. Being an Atlantic Fellow has made me reevaluate my career trajectory. And I think in order to have long-term, long-standing change, you have to have a seat at the table. And that's all a result of being a part of this fellowship.
The diversity of our fellows keeps growing, and we keep learning as the community becomes more diverse and as we reach out to those who have entirely different ways of approaching these problems.
The Atlantic Fellows for Health Equity in Southeast Asia reaches through all the countries of Southeast Asia plus China. Our mission is for a fairer, healthier Southeast Asia through the development of a new generation of young change maker in the region to improve health equity.
There are between 60,000 to 100,000 child victims in the sex trafficking industry in the Philippines. I work with the government to ensure that its systems are able to serve the poor who are victims of violence. We focus on cases where there really is a current victim in clear and present danger.
We did the raid on this one, November.
Our fellows are an amazing group of people who are diverse in their background. We have lawyers, teachers, artists, musicians, journalists. They come from all walks of life. They are united in a common desire to improve social justice in their community, in their countries, and in the region.
The fellowship has helped me as a leader, employing adaptive leadership, because I've always wanted to level up in that way. Paper Project has its own mission to provide decent work to survivors of exploitation. It is giving tools to the community of survivors to flourish and thrive.
Health equity is not just about the health sectors. It's about issues that transcend sectors, that transcends country, that transcends nationalities. If you want to find durable solutions, you have to really address the system holistically.
The Atlantic Fellows for Social and Economic Equity program, based at the London School of Economics, combines cutting-edge research on inequalities with the work of our fellows from across the globe.
I work with widows in a rural community in Kenya. I love my culture, and it's a beautiful culture. But widows experience stigma in many levels. The widow has to be sexually cleansed to clean her of the omen of death. It is repeated and repeated and repeated, and it's clouded in a blanket of silence. It is the one place that HIV and AIDS continues to be spread without anybody looking at it. What are your challenges? Where are your needs? I got widowed at 32, and then I got to be pressured to be cleansed. I knew I had to stand up for myself. What I did not know at the time is that I was standing up for the dignity of thousands of widows who were afraid to speak up, showing them that this is doable and you can drive your own change.
Our fellows come from across the globe, but what links our fellows is their commitment to work collectively in a values-led manner to achieve change, to transform their societies, to tackle inequalities wherever they are in the world.
The Atlantic program did not only open my mindset, but it opened my worldview. Without the Atlantic program, I wouldn't have shifted the Widows program to work with men. The networks of widowhood and widow groups, it is a force to reckon with. Somebody will have to listen. And in the long term, widows will have dignity.
As fellows graduate from the 7 programs, they join a global community, a global family. The Atlantic Fellows community fundamentally is underpinned by a belief that coming together across the world in a global community will make the greatest difference to global inequities.
It's not possible for one individual to make the change that we want to see. So our work is to bring those who share a value to share a vision.
Just seeing how other people do things differently help open up new possibilities, new ways of thinking, new way of addressing the same problems.
It might be a neurologist from South America, an activist working in racial justice in the United States, an administrator from the Prime Minister's office in Australia.
What can be learned when these fellows come together? And that's where the Institute comes in.
The Atlantic Institute seeks to create a community of like-minded individuals to achieve fairer, healthier, more inclusive societies. We do this by connecting fellows from across the world to imagine anew and to begin collaborating between programs, fellows, and geographies.
Each year we bring the Atlantic Fellows community together to a global convening where the fellows are able to meet each other, connect, and to begin collaborating for greater impact. And in the new world post the pandemic, we're still deeply committed of bringing fellows together in person as well as virtually.
Health equity is resilience. Resilience. Health equity is justice.
Atlantic Institute is based at Rhodes Trust, an intentional decision in terms of connecting the Atlantic Fellows community to a wider community of 5,000 Rhodes scholars working across the world. It is, however, a space that is contested because of the legacy of Cecil John Rhodes, and part of that encounter is to acknowledge that legacy.
As a part of being a fellow, it was important, incredibly important to connect with so many folks. But to be then put in the Rhodes Center to discuss equity was hard. On the other hand, the people there, we had a lot of the shared values and we had similar sentiments about it.
For many of our fellows, it provides the opportunity, the catalyst for really serious conversations about race, about colonisation, but also about solutions.
As lifelong fellows, they get to spread conversation and those perspectives among others. And we are seeing how these fellows are becoming a resource beyond just their immediate community. That's then helping to kind of bring closer to the program and the community people who we would otherwise perhaps not be collaborating or working with.
In most cases, activists, they always give care to other people without giving care to themselves. So I learned about that it is important for me to also give care to myself as a person so that I can then be able to serve other people.
My culture to your culture, I acknowledge, I see you, thank you.
Fellows reflect on the fact that they are emboldened to take risks that they wouldn't otherwise have taken. They feel supported by the community to take on grander visions, bolder goals, and that's exactly what's needed in this space.
The question we ask our fellows is, what will your legacy be in terms of leaving this place better than how we found it?
This exchange for me is to find a global means of solidarity. How do we realize that we all belong under this universe, and how can we help one another?
The biggest thing is the value of relationships. There would never be an opportunity to meet with change makers of this caliber from all over the world. You just couldn't create this.
It's a collective we that needs to make this change. Come in ready to receive.
Let's keep the momentum going. When we go back to our countries, let's still keep the connection going.
We're starting to see the impact not only of the Atlantic Fellows program in fellowship year, but also the global community and coming together on a global stage. We know that their work will make a difference not just for their country and their community, but on a wider scale. I have never experienced being part of such an extraordinary community. They are fellows who live and breathe injustice.
I imagine 10, 15, 20 years from now that a community of Atlantic Fellows, which will range in the thousands, they will in fact change the aspirations that we share as a society as a whole.
Being part of this global community is an exercise in real action and real connection and real impact that will change this world.
On behalf of the Atlantic Institute,
welcome.
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 Welcome to the Atlantic Fellows.